a trig function. So I'm going to do a problem similar to question 8, but not exactly the same. And let's see. So our domain is between negative 90 and 90 degrees, or pi over 2, negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. So again, our inverse function theorem, we're going to let h represent our inverse, the inverse of f of x. So we are looking for the inverse. I'm going to use this. The derivative of the inverse at, not 220, I'm thinking of the last problem, at, in this case, I'm going to give an example. I'm just going to use square root of 2 over 2. So we know our formula. Calculate the derivative of the inverse. That's equal to 1 divided by, this is our inverse function theorem, of h of x. So we need to know what, again, we need to know what h of x is. So we know that f of x and h of x are inverses of one another. So I can evaluate when cosine of x is equal to square root of 2 over 2. And again, I want to evaluate this between negative 90, so negative pi over 2, and positive pi over 2. So I'm going to put cosine in, so cosine's positive in both of these quadrants. So in the example, in the actual homework, you can only choose one, not two. So we're going to go ahead and just choose this quadrant here. So cosine square root of 2 over 2, so that's, we're looking at this value of theta, so adjacent over hypotenuse. So if we use the Pythagorean theorem, we see that this is also root 2. So we know that we're dealing with a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So we know that this angle here is pi over 4. So we know that this value of x here is negative pi over 4. So negative pi over 4. So we can replace h of x, or h of square root of 2 over 2, with negative pi over 4. So that becomes okay, so just like that last problem, we want to calculate the derivative of cosine x. We know that the derivative of cosine is negative sine, and we want to evaluate that at negative pi over 4. So negative sine, negative pi over 4. So sine of this angle here, opposite over hypotenuse, is square root of 2 over 2. So negative square root of 2 over 2, but we also have to recognize that in this fourth quadrant, sine is negative, so that becomes negative square root of 2 over 2. So that gives us square root of 2 over 2. Again, this was an example similar to the one like question 8. I started with cosine x instead of with sine x.